All right, so here we are with Hudson Jameson. He's from the Ethereum Foundation. We're going to start knowing a little bit more about him. Thank you so much for joining us today, Hudson. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Well, we already have a previous conversation where he exactly knew how I was. I was struggling to learn how to use a virtual background. But today we're
Oh,
going to
yep.
get a little bit more technical than that, hopefully.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you anyways for trying to pull me out of that little problem. Either way, Hudson, I would love us to start by just asking you something that you say about yourself in your professional networks. You say that you're a communicative programmer and blockchain enthusiast. What is a communicative programmer? Why do you define yourself like that?
Yeah, so I would say that some of the time there's this like stereotype or trope that uh, developers aren't very talkative. They are kind of to themselves and don't know how to communicate with other people about what goals they want to do and stuff like that. It's really not a fair stereotype a lot of the time, but it's something where I wanted to make sure people knew, even though I have a technical background, I can still communicate with different people about things like my goals and working with others and stuff like that.
Amazing. Well, actually, that's one of the reasons that we precisely got into this conversation. You just last week tweeted something that got to be a little bit controversial maybe. You
Oh
were,
yeah, I'm all about controversy. So
yeah, crypto drama is served. No, but actually, you tweeted basically that the crypto space needed more non-technical cheerleaders, and that maybe pull a bit of a bit of strings out there. So why don't you tell me what did you mean by that? Why non-technical cheerleaders in the crypto space are needed?
so basically, we have in the Ethereum community, at least, which is the cryptocurrency community I'm involved in, we have a bunch of people who are just the smartest people in the world when it comes to technical development on blockchain technology, stuff with cryptography, with math, with distributed systems technologies. And a lot of the time, they don't have the inclination necessarily or the time to go in and make educational materials for their breakthroughs and other developments. So where that gap is, there's a place for that gap to be filled by people who are not necessarily at the same level of technical aptitude as those who are building the technology. So what I mean by that is maybe someone can come along and draw like a create a one-page document that says, this is how you do staking of your cryptocurrency in Ethereum 2.0. And it has like nice pictures and graphics and stuff like that. Or even people coming on different podcasts and talking about their cryptocurrency experiments and how they're using it. And users are really an overlooked, type of, I guess, class of cryptocurrency um, developer, user, tester, all that stuff. So we really need to like gather around those people and make sure they know that they are needed. I do regret using the term cheerleader. It was more of a lack of a better term to come up with something that just means a non-technical person trying their best to help with the community in a way that can reach out to a lot of like quote normal people.
Yeah, you know what? That's also something that I would love to have your insight since I'm talking with a communicative programmer. Uh, no, actually, this is very cool. What would you say that these non-technical people can do for Ethereum? Like how can non-technical people be active participants of Ethereum or the crypto space in general?
So I think one of the biggest ways is to test the different products, projects, and technology and provide feedback to the people building them. There's really this lack of feedback. Everyone just wants to lurk around and try out all this stuff, and then they don't always give feedback to the people building it. Going through and trying out software and different projects and stuff like that, and sending just an email to the person who created it saying, hey, this is what I liked about your software, or I didn't like, or this was hard or easy. And then, based on the feedback, the software gets better. Additionally, you can make like how-to videos or how-to articles based on what you've been working on with the software. So that's a big area, is testing and feedback. Another area people can get involved in is spreading the word. So I guess evangelism is what they say about that. Stuff like going on Twitter and making tweets about your favorite programs or about the cryptocurrency or things like that.
Yeah, like spreading the word, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and that gets me to my next question. Uh, we use a lot the term community in the crypto space. How do you feel about that word? And how was your journey to find your place into this community?
Community is such a hard term to define because it can mean so many different things. But I define community, and I just consider looking at the Ethereum and other cryptocurrency communities as people coming together with shared ideals that use, and especially in the cryptocurrency communities, using the technology to actually come up and solve those issues and those ideals that those peoples have. So, for instance, censorship resistance, or immutable money, or non-government controlled money and programs, stuff like that. People can come together and find their shared interest about. It attracts a certain kind of person for sure, and they're usually really weird, but that's really fun.
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
you just stop there. You just stop there. You're not going to. You're like, yeah, they're very weird.
no, I actually need to finish. I need to finish the answer you from the question you asked me. So yeah, they're
Okay.
really weird, and I think that how I got involved in Ethereum specifically was back in college in the I guess the early 2010s. I discovered Bitcoin and started mining Bitcoin and trying to figure out how to get involved. From Bitcoin, I moved on to Darkcoin, it's now called Dash, but at the time it was called Darkcoin. And that community was really welcoming, and I enjoyed that in my mid 2010s. And I read the white paper that Vitalik Buterin wrote for Ethereum around 2014, 2015. Or I guess it would have been 2015, and it just immediately clicked for me how having programs on a blockchain could be a real game changer. So from there, I got involved in the pre-sale and in the Reddit community for Ethereum. I went to DevCon 1, which was one of the first large Ethereum conferences, and just threw myself into the community, volunteering in a bunch of different ways until I got noticed. And from there, I moved on to working at the Ethereum Foundation and getting even more roles and jobs and meeting more people. And it's been a really fun ride.
Amazing. You just got right into it. You never look back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And well, you also said in a recent interview that you are actually a terrible programmer.
Yeah.
How would
No,
you define your job in the Ethereum Foundation after that?
yeah. So basically, I have a computer science degree for my university education. However, afterwards, the first job I had was at a bank, and I was just terrible at developing. I was better at talking to people and organizing and that type of thing. So right now, I consider myself a developer liaison. And what that means to me is that I can take these concerns and the comments that the community has, and bring them up to the developers to incorporate that feedback into the software and protocol development in the ecosystem. That's one of my main tasks, and that shows itself in being an editor for our technical standards called EIPs, and also organizing the core developer meetings that happen every other Friday, where we decide when network upgrades are happening and what standards are going into the protocol upgrades and stuff like that. So it's a lot of boring stuff that I wade through that my technical background helps, but I don't have to actually code the thing.
My God, you found a loophole.
Yes, yes, I did.
Jeez. Wow, lucky you, really. I get to be technical, but not too technical, so it's not fun.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, you still have fun, dude. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it because you get to meet a lot of people with a lot of different personalities, and the technology itself is like really cutting edge. So if you like reading about new and exciting things all the time, then it's going to be enjoyable.
Okay, now that's a seller. You
Uh-huh.
also do marketing. Okay. I
I try. I try.
can try. Now, well, now that you mentioned that, um, you have also talked before about how Ethereum has had all these breakthroughs, and some very recent. Which are the new updates that the general public should know about? Maybe something that people will notice the difference if they start using applications with Ethereum.
Yes, so you can use Ethereum today, and what we do is or I should say, you can use Ethereum today, and we call that Ethereum 1.0. And depending on what application you're using it for, you're going to have a varying level of experience. If you're using it to just trade Ether, or using it to use like a DAI, which is a stable coin pegged to the US dollar, that's pretty easy use case to wrap your head around. Other ones where you're playing games on the blockchain, it can be a little bit slower and it can be a little bit cumbersome. However, it is possible to do today. But what people are really getting excited about recently is Ethereum 2.0. And Ethereum 2.0 is a way to improve the Ethereum blockchain to make it a lot more scalable and a lot more easy to use in general, with a lot more applications being able to be developed on it. So that roadmap is a little bit fluctuating. However, before the end of the year, there should be what we're calling phase 0 launched for Ethereum 2.0. And then in the coming years, different phases that are go all the way up to phase 4, I believe, are going to happen, where it gets more and more exciting, and there are more and more updates to Ethereum as the old chain combines with the new improvements in Ethereum 2.0 protocol specifications.
All right. And well, now I would like us to do a little exercise.
Okay.
I would like you to tell me which applications with Ethereum do you think will be good for beginners to start testing it out to understand what's so awesome about it?
Sure. So even though earlier I said that games can be a little bit challenging, I think that games are also one of the biggest ways to onboard people to Ethereum. And two of the games that come to mind, one of them is a quote classic Ethereum game. It's called CryptoKitties, where you can go in and you can create your own kitty with different styles and different outfits and attitudes. And those cats, you can trade them for money, kind of like a Neopets meets just like a online item trader. And that's a good way to onboard people. But another one is called Gods Unchained, and that one's more like Magic the Gathering meets blockchain. So you have cards that you play in decks against other people, and cards have different powers that can cancel out other cards. And if you've ever played, yeah, like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering or Pokemon, it's a little bit similar to that, but you're using the blockchain in the background to have your own cards and keep them with you, in a way that is immutable and is able to be traded for other, what they call NFTs across the ecosystem.
Wait, uh, this game, Gods and what?
Gods Unchained.
Gods Unchained. It's like Magic, the one
Yep.
with oh, the one that every single engineer has played, and every single person who has been interested in science in some way has ever played in college. Like everyone plays Magic.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they like lift up the cards and they just like slam them down, and it's really nerdy. Yeah, those ones.
Wow. Well, I played Yu-Gi-Oh. So
Hmm.
yes, I feel it. Okay, that one year. Okay. Now I feel like playing it.
All right, you should give it a
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. And a game of words. Well played. Jameson, I also have one last question for you. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your insight on this. But I would like us to end with you telling me, with us finding a middle ground actually, because I'd like us to dive once more into language in the blockchain space. Like, I would like you to tell me, how do you think that blockchain projects should approach the public? You have made previous, let's say, little mistakes in your own language when you are tweeting. How do you feel that this community should approach the public from now on?
I believe that it's very, very important for the public to be approached transparently. That's the number one thing. So if mistakes happen, or if achievements happen, or if, whatever the case is, just be very communicative, be very transparent about what you're doing in the space. And if you have a little hiccup or a fumble, that's going to happen because this is really, really early technology. Beyond transparency, I think that you should show an excitement and be proud of your project. Try to spread the word about it and help other projects by making it open source. Being being an open source software is a cornerstone of blockchain technology, and you don't want to have like a secret closed source thing that people can't check out to know that it's going to be malicious or not on your computer. You need to be open and transparent about your code and about any problems that you have with your code, and the community generally will appreciate you for that, even if things don't go perfectly all the time.
All right. And to approach the non-technical public, what will you say to them, since you are constantly speaking with customers, I guess, with people who are just brand new to the ecosystem? How do you feel that they could be more uh, attracted without being maybe intimidated? Perhaps that's the word for the technical ecosystem that is managed here.
Sure. So I would say make explainer videos, explainer papers, different types of marketing material that is really aimed at the average person, not at the technical person necessarily. And I harp on that a lot because I just don't see that enough in the space. Another thing that is going to be very important for you to do if you're a company trying to market or show people your technology is to be very open about it in ways that are non-traditional. So not just writing a tweet that says, "Hey, come join our website," but having like bi-weekly video calls with the community where they can come and ask questions, or having maybe like a far out idea would be like a telethon where you like have a party all night talking about different technologies, and they come on and you can like demo them and people can get involved and vote on things and just make things fun and interactive for everybody.
Well, that's an excellent advice. I hope, I hope many
Yeah,
more
I hope
people
people do
hear
that
it.
too.
Yeah. Well, I'm off to play then CryptoKitties because it kind of sounds to me like a Tamagotchi. But
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I never played Tamagotchi, but I believe it is similar to that.
well, I don't know if I have to keep my crypto kitties alive, but that's what Tamagotchi is alive. It's like basically.
I see. I see. Nah, the kitties won't die. You don't have to worry about that. You get the fun parts without having to be a parent.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. This was great.